right. There we go. I'll use my little gavel. Get to use it once in a while. Okay. Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of November 19th, 2018 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the Township Clerk of any disability requirements necessary for the attendance at the Mayor and Council meeting. The fire exits are located at the double doors on your right and through the door on your left. Please silence your cell phones at this time. And can we salute the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Bruno?
Yep.
Councilman Cassio?
Here.
Councilman Cumming?
Here.
Councilman Ullman?
Here.
Council President DeSena?
Okay. Just a quick PSA. Just a friendly reminder, the township offices will be closed on Friday, November 23rd for the holiday. And in regards to the commuter parking applications, the 2019 commuter parking application will be mailed to the current tag holders on Monday, December 3rd, 2018. The application will be made available to non-tag holders on our website on that date also. Clerk, can I have the reading of the bills, please?
Absolutely. The following is a list of bills paid since the last bill list was submitted, representing October 1st, 2018 through November 15th, 2018. Total 2017 reserve, $34,155.70. Total 2018 current, $6,402,097.61. That number represents both October's and November's Board of Ed payments are included, totaling $4,670,852. Sorry, $4,670,852. Total capital fund, $105,549.08. Total animal control, $391.20. Total grant fund, $24,308.96. And total trust fund, $4,403.43.
Okay, thank you. We have no minutes to approve.
Excuse me. I have some questions.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, if I may.
Okay.
On page 7, we paid Azalina and Fury $41K. Do we know what the status is of all of the outstanding POs? Where do we stand with the reconciliation, and how much more is due to Azalina?
I do not know. Maybe Mr. Tovo knows what that answer would be for outstanding bills to the engineer.
We are currently analyzing all the payments made to his firm, as well as anything that might be outstanding. I have some information provided by Matt prior to his departure. So right now we're just comparing those to make sure everything is accurate. I would expect by sometime next month we'll have a full report to council.
Okay. Is that satisfaction, Mr. Ullman?
Thank you. Page 11, there are services for Mr. Statiel for general engineering for 6/11 to 7/7/18. Do we know what those are regarding?
I do not, but I will ask the administrator again if he knows what those are earmarked for.
I'll have to check on that and get back to you.
I believe, Michael, it's for the completion of the backflow devices on Prospect Avenue. Since he had started that, he agreed to stay on and finish it.
Okay, thank
Are
you.
those totally complete, Peter?
I'm happy to say they are now, yes.
Okay, and the residents are happy?
Very.
Okay, excellent.
Do they have to sign off on anything for that?
We had an agreement that they all signed, right, Ken? I forget the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
On page 15, do we know what QRP LLC is? Because we're doing a community policing website, and then they also did work for Town Day. And
I do not know. I'll ask Mr. Tovo or the mayor if they know what that's for.
It just seems a bit odd, the two functions or expenses.
Offhand, I don't know. If I had to take an educated guess, but we'll certainly find out for sure. It might be a printing company, could be all the three of those did some printing, especially when I see 100% cotton for Town Day. I know they were doing some T-shirts maybe, but I'll find out and let you know.
Okay. On page 16, do we know what ISUFI Enterprises is? Festival Volunteer Dinner, Festival Volunteer Tips?
Yes, that was, it has been tradition for the Town Day volunteers to have a recap dinner to, make sure everything went okay, take notes for next year. So that was out at a restaurant, and that was their official name of the restaurant.
Do you know if that's a restaurant in town?
It is, yes.
Okay. That was the important aspect of it. Page 25. We made a few payments to Clark Canton Hints for COA services. Where do we stand with our payments on COA, and do we have any, do we anticipate any issues meeting any additional payments for the special master?
Well, from a standpoint of where they are in their assignments, they're reviewing the final settlements and whatever. We have not gotten their final report. There was supposed to, our last extension for immunity is December 17th. I'm going to be asking for a further extension beyond that because we don't have the report yet. So I don't know what their fee situation is in terms of where they are with the report.
Does that put the town in jeopardy because they're holding up?
No, because basically what I do is I apply to the court for extensions of immunity, and I've done it for several times already. They consent to it, and the court enters the order, so we're still protected by immunity.
You'd never denied it, right?
No.
Thank you. Page 29, we rented the turf field. I'm just wondering what was, when was that? Do we know what it was for?
I do not know, Mr. Ullman. I'll ask the mayor or the administrator. Was that for practice or something?
Offhand, I don't recall. Do you, Bob?
Okay, I'll get back and I'll find out.
Yep, we'll find out.
Okay. And on page 40, again, we are paying Azalina and Fury out of the capital fund against ordinances from '06. Is this part of the cleanup, or is this new work? Do we know?
I don't know, Mr. Tobo, do you have any idea?
It's a combination of both. Like I said, once we do the full reconciliation, we'll have a full report for you. Right now, we have a pretty good picture of what's gone on in the recent past and what's happening now, but until we finish that, I can't give you all the information.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get that within a month or so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the last question, would it be possible also, I had spoken to Peter about it, Mayor Calamari, about an accounting of Town Day. Going through this, there are so many lines that are being hit, not hidden, hit. Both in current fund, I see we're paying out of the trust. There's, I would just personally would like to understand what the cost of Town Day is to the town. On the revenue side, what fees we've collected, and just as important, I'd like to understand the vendors that are engaged, because although I didn't attend, I believe there was a lack of, especially in the food side, township businesses. And I thought one of the purposes of Town Day was to expose residents to town businesses. I don't know if they were asked and they declined, they weren't asked, or the terms have changed, but I think we have some excellent neighbors across the street, and I think we should make an effort to engage businesses in town. So that would be it. So a request for an accounting of Town Day.
You want a list of vendors that were there and expenses incurred?
Well,
Or do you want something other than,
No, I mean, I don't know if it can be run straight out of the ledger, but what were the expenses related to Town Day?
okay.
What were the revenue associated with Town Day? And I'm assuming on the expense side, we would have vendors that would be clearly identified.
Okay. I'm sure we can put that list together, right, Mr. Tobo and Peter?
We can,
Yeah,
yes.
I'd be happy to get that for you. Just to answer your other question, Mike, yes, it has been tradition that our local food vendors partake in it. But however, just to keep things fresh this year, the Town Day Committee decided to do more of a food truck type event. And part of their thing to make it worthwhile for them to come is we can't have any other food vendors competing with them. Otherwise, it's not worth their while. Most of the town food vendors were okay with it because it's more of a hassle for them. They partake in it just out of sense of community, but they were also happy to get a one-year break on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We have no minutes to approve tonight.
Steve, I'm sorry, Chick,
I'm
can
sorry
I
about
just
that.
want to follow up on two
Sure.
things. One is regarding the Azalina and Fury. There are a lot of payments, actually, more than what Mr. Ullman had mentioned. But when we had one of our meetings, I thought we were handed a statement that was well over $300,000 of bills. I know I sent some emails, and I got a response, it was 120, but I thought Mr. Cavallo handed us a statement about $300,000 plus.
Like I said, Bob, in the email, I don't think it was ever that high, and
I don't have a
if you
statement
can
with me.
find it, I'll certainly take a look at
Yeah,
it, but...
I will. I mean,
Thank
I
you.
had put it on one of the agendas as the $300,000 discussion, and nobody disputed the amount, so. And in reference to the Town Day, everything actually that we spent should come out of the trust fund, because we had $62,000. And when we budgeted the amount for that day, but two come out of the trust fund, even though we had to budget it, and then it comes out according to what the prior administrator said. So there should be, everything should go against $62,000 and basically not come out of the current fund. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cumming, anything you'd like to add?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. Again, I don't think we have any minutes to approve tonight, so, and I think the mayor is going to not give a report, but I think the mayor does have an appointment tonight. So, Peter, if you'd like to continue with that for the
Yes, thank you.
Municipal Humane
Just get to that
Enforcement
page.
Officer.
Yep. Please be advised that having received the recommendation of the police chief and the approval of the director of public safety, and in accordance with the recommendations of the Bergen County prosecutor and the New Jersey Attorney General, I am hereby appointing the following person to the office or position below. Police Officer Jason Guger to the position of Municipal Humane Law Enforcement Officer.
And Ken, he doesn't need consent of the council, right? Okay.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you. Report of the council, would you like to do anything tonight, or you want to postpone until December? What's your choice?
December's fine for me.
December's fine.
For me.
Mr. Ullman?
December's fine.
Mr. Cumming?
Likewise, sir.
Okay, then we'll move on. I'd like to open up the floor for public discussion, so I need a motion to open the public discussion at this point.
So moved.
Second. Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yep.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
At this time, if you have any comments to make to the Township Council, please come up, present yourself, name and address, please, and you're limited to 5 minutes.
Diane Grimaldi, 441 Van Emberg Avenue in the Township. Just a quick question, and I don't have the settlement with me, and it has to do with Viviano's property. In the settlement, Mr. Viviano was to pay the town in, I think, 3 installments, quite a bit of money, which at the time the settlement was made, we were selling our credits to Bayonne. Now that that program no longer exists in COA, I just want to know, is Mr. Viviano still going to be
Yes.
giving us money, and where is that money going to go?
It's going to go into the town fund for affordable housing. And there's a spending plan that the special master was mentioned earlier. That's one of the things that she's doing, is reviewing our spending plan.
Okay, so the town will,
We'll get the money.
we'll get the money,
Yes.
but, so the town will be in charge of finding properties to build affordable housing on?
Part of
with
what
that
we have
money?
to do, yes.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Anyone else? Come on up.
Julie Lipnick, 184 Finnerty Place. Couple of concerns. Does anyone know of any situation that required the air traffic over the weekend to be exceptionally heavy over our area? We had helicopters quite a bit. We had jets flying very low, lower than normal. And I spoke to a coworker of mine today who lives over on Beach. She was concerned as well. She heard it there. I went out Saturday night and there were quite a few helicopters flying low. Was there any need for concern?
I am personally unaware of anything, and Peter, did you hear anything?
I did.
No, there was quite a bit of traffic since I'm on
Quite a
Beach
bit.
Street. Yeah,
Yeah, quite a bit of air
And I
traffic.
thought they were going to land in the bedroom. but,
Well, we thought
they
one
were-
was gonna
they-
come down.
They were
Yes.
kind of low, so I don't have an answer for you why that was.
Okay.
I do not know.
That's one concern. The other is, I'm sure each of us growing up has heard the statement, give them an inch and they'll take a yard. Well, we know that over on Washington Avenue, the double lane was extended back to Burke. Well, now it's Jacqueline. And it's really amazing how a double lane at Burke is just not enough. They're coming down that hill and crossing over the yellow line all the way back to Jacqueline. Today I had an experience, and because of what we're looking to do over at the Viviano project, my question is, are we going to have a flyover at the intersection of Van Emberg and Washington? Because looking to put all that frickin' traffic up there, I can't even imagine. This morning I was going to work, and I do work in Saddle River, so I was going up Washington, going west, when a car, an SUV coming south on Van Emberg, decided to cut off the northbound car and literally made that turn right into my direction on the wrong side of the road. And when I leaned on my horn, I can't even begin to tell you the look I got. So if we're going to add that much more traffic on Van Emberg, that intersection's got to be a flyover. I know at one time our president wanted to do the flyover at 4 and 17. Maybe we can call him up and ask him if he wants to do the flyover on Washington and Van Emberg, because something has to be done. That is an absolute danger now. I can't even imagine what it will be going down the road. My next concern is we talk about COA and affordable housing, low-income housing. I take it as those in need of housing. Recently, I had a conversation with a tax assessor, whose name will be anonymous, who told me that he was approached by a mayor in a nearby town who asked him if he knew anyone looking to get some living space because he was having difficulty filling his affordable housing units. And he literally asked me what my children do and about how much they make. He goes, oh, yes, your son is a teacher, correct? Well, maybe he can get in. I looked at him like, are you kidding? I looked at the requirements. $52,000 for a single person would warrant getting an affordable housing unit. I mean, stab me here, I didn't think 52,000 was such a bad income. But that being said, I was reading, and I have an article here that I found very interesting about affordable housing, where mayors had come out in force to fight the current legislation. And it clearly states that people who are in need are not moving, do not want to move to areas like our town for the simple reason that there's no major transportation. So they need affordable housing. Now they have to go buy a car. And I thought about it. Can you imagine somebody on Van Emberg walking all the way over to the Washington Town Center to get a container of milk or some groceries? I mean, that's almost an absurdity. So my question is, like, why is there not more of a fight to put this money into areas that need to be redeveloped, where these people could be close to main hubs for bus, for train, and to be with their community? I can't imagine that they would come here. So that being said, I don't know what other thing we can do with COA, but an affordable housing, but I know there's affordable and then there's low income, and they both kind of teeter, and the requirements are not that far apart. But who are we going to attract? That's the thing. And we wouldn't be doing a service to those in need if they're going to come here and live in an area where there is no service for them, unless we're going to start providing bus service to go back and forth like we do for senior traffic.
I don't think we'll be doing that.
Well, it was something that crossed my mind. My last statement was, it was very unfortunate that Mother Nature whacked us with a snowstorm while powers that be were in Atlantic City. And to all those listening, really and truly, that was on a taxpayer dollar. I found the governor's statement disgusting, to blame it on meteorologists who forecasted it wrong, and then the general public who crowded the roadways before anything could be done. There was no prep. To go 11 minutes from Saddle River to my house took me an hour and 15. My son, who commutes from Washington Township to Saddlebrook, took him 4.5 hours to get down Route 17. He said, aside from the bottleneck and all the snow that was all over, to see grown men get out of their cars, and pardon me, men, urinate alongside the road because they had been sitting in their cars too long. I mean, I cannot believe that there was no prep. I can't believe that there was nobody designated to make some sort of arrangements to have roads salted and cleared. God bless our DPW, because it wasn't their fault. They do the best that they can. Maybe they need more hands-on, maybe they need more supplies, maybe they need the world. I don't know. But it was really, really sad what has happened to northern New Jersey. This isn't the first snowstorm. It will not be the last, but it won't be. It is the last. I'll get caught up when I'll be out sick that day. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, may I say a few things?
Sure.
So, Ms. Lipnick, I think the jets actually were flyover jets. I don't think they were regular jets.
No, they won't.
Those
Those are military.
Yeah, those are military jets, and I don't know why. The last time it happened, I did call the police at one time, and they informed me that they are not notified what happens, but those were military jets that flew over, and I don't know why. Regarding the intersection, I too and my wife go up and down there, take our life into our hands. I was hoping that, we purchased this electronic machine that the police have, and hopefully they can put that, on Burke and also up at that intersection to start, people have to see this. If they just pay no attention to the signs, they go right through it. And, we go through with our hand on the horn. And you're right, everybody ends up giving us the salute when you go through. But I'm hoping the police can put that electronic sign somewhere in these streets and let people see it. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
It is, and even coming home today at 4 o'clock, I couldn't believe it.
Thank you, it's not a discussion.
No problem.
Okay, Bob, you done with your statement? You're good?
Yeah, I mentioned it to the mayor. I just want to see if you will talk to the
I made a note of it.
police.
I'll talk to them about it.
Anyone else? Please come up. We'll get you next, Mary.
We have no control over military.
I know.
My name is Frank Gozell. I live at 464 Van Emberg. I wasn't really going to say anything tonight, but Van Emberg, I think it needs some attention. Recently, I requested some speed limit signs, and through cooperation, we had 225-mile-an-hour signs posted. But the problem that I have is I never see black and whites. I mean, if I see a black and white, it's on Van Emberg. There was one today, pulled through IHA, stopped at the exit for about 2 minutes, and then proceeded to go northbound up Van Emberg. It's getting ridiculous on that road. Again, I wasn't going to say anything, but the traffic is just unbearable. I mean, other neighbors that I talk to, if they see a black and white on the street, they never want to stop anybody. There must be 50, 100 speeders. I mean, if they write a ticket, I would even match it. The town could make lots of money. I don't know the reason why. These guys don't want to get out of their car. They don't want to be interrupted. But the traffic there's horrendous. There's a school, Immaculate Heart. You're all familiar with it. Sure. Every school that I go through in the county has slow school zone, something written on the road. Van Emberg, they're racing by Immaculate Heart at 50 miles an hour. All day long. Northbound, southbound. It's going to be a problem. Somebody's going to get clipped and killed. Like I say, I'm a resident there. I've been there 40 years. And there's some manhole covers that these trucks are roll-on, roll-offs. The garbage trucks, they're banging, clanking all hours of the day and night. We got tractor trailers running up and down. I know they're not in-town deliveries. I mean, if they're going to Wegmans or Acme or something like that, I could see it. But these guys are carrying BMWs and all kind of crazy cars and dump trucks banging around. It's just it's being terrible. I don't know how many violations have been written. I would like that question answered. They're not stopping anybody. And I'm not even asking them to stop them. But geez, if they're there, park a black and white and go have a cup of coffee somewhere else. The people that use that road have to be aware it's not a 50-mile-an-hour road. And I know you guys are going to say, well, they're not going 50. Come and stand. We were doing leaves, my wife and I, for the last 3 or 4 days. Well, the last 2 weeks. Man, they fly by. They're doing 50. I don't care what anybody says. We need some electronic, quantitative measure of what that traffic is really doing. And maybe we can rent some kind of a speed device. It doesn't have to be tremendously expensive. And just look at it for a month. But 24 hours, not having a black and white park for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because they ignore them.
Sure.
It's getting bad. And even at Washington, I don't even go that way anymore.
People exceed the speed limit, and maybe, Mr. Mayor, we can have some more enforcement out there.
I don't think enforcement's going to help, believe it or not. I think we need some good signage.
Well, that's part of the enforcement.
And they need to write them up.
Well, that would be enforcement.
Okay, well,
Because if you're just sitting there and you're not doing anything, that's not enforcement.
That would be a start.
It
might be a start. Yeah, it might be a start. But I think we need some quantitative
penalty
data. Like how fast are they going?
Maybe we can ask the county to come and take a look at that roadway again.
Maybe we can get the county to patrol it.
but I don't think you're gonna get that. But we could see, but I understand, I live on Ridgewood Road, and they don't do 35, they do more like 45, and
I know, but they're flying by a school.
understand.
Does IHA have any semblance of being a school? 25 miles an hour in every school that I pass. Whether they enforce it or not, I don't know, I slow down.
Right.
But they certainly aren't even considering a slowdown. They're going by at 45 and 50 continually, and it's not, oh, in the morning or at noon or at night. That's why I say the black and whites, they're hitting it all day long, but they're missing half, not even half, they're missing 90% of the speed traps. And again, the question, a simple question, how many people have they written up?
I don't know. We can get a
That's
report
something
on
that should be answered, because if it's zero, they're not doing their job. And enforcement is a joke.
We will find out. Mr. Mayor, if you can look into that, we
Certainly.
appreciate it. Mr. Tovo, maybe we can get more signage up there. Maybe we can contact the school, see if they need more signage, and the county. This county always marks those roads. I know they do in front of Westwood, and I don't think it is marked up there at IHA, as far as I know. So let's see if we can get something going there.
Sure.
Thank you.
I know they also had the movable sign with the speed limit flashing and then your speed type of thing.
They have those in Garfield or other towns.
But that's the big movable sign. I know in Hohokus on the cut-through I use for my brother, they have a much smaller version of that. I mean, is that something we would consider? It's a little more portable, and it, again, shows the speed limit, and then on top of it, it flashes your actual speed with LEDs around it. So
Yep.
if that would be something that we would consider.
I tell you, if you run up,
Your time has expired, sir.
oh, sorry, if you run up a reasonable number, we'll donate the cost.
But we do have the portable.
Yep.
And that's being used, I'm assuming, around town. Maybe
Yep.
we can stick it up there a couple
Yeah,
more
more in the
times,
major roads,
especially,
maybe.
especially at the schools.
Yep.
Also, Colonial, again, is being a speedway, Roseway Speedway, want to bring the speed down a little bit.
Correct.
Anyone else?
Mr. Council President, the
Yes.
report from Cornelia for last month lists motor vehicle violations at 101.
101?
Yes, sir.
You have to see what, there's a breakdown of what it's for, so you have to see whether
Yes,
it's
I
speeding
know.
and,
That's as much as I could do at the moment.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cumming. Yes, sir.
Michael Agrado, 176 Fern Street in the Township. I know we had this freaky snowstorm that just occurred, but I have the same problem as I had last storm from last year. This storm I couldn't get off my driveway. The other storm I couldn't get on my driveway. What's happening is they're cleaning the roads, which is great. This storm, around 1 o'clock in the morning, I heard the truck come up, and then the truck came down on the other side of the street. Problem is, when I woke up in the morning, I had boulders of ice and snow, and it wasn't my own property. It was a bunch of us on the one side where everything got blocked, just like it was the last storm from last year. So it took me another hour to clean everything out so I can get to work. I understand, and based on what you had said last time, was that you have initiated this curb to curb, but prior to the curb to curb, we never had a problem on our side, on our little street. And I don't know if it's because they're going fast, because I only heard the truck at 1 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't outside, but it's coming to be a problem. I just can't spend time cleaning it the night prior and then getting up again and starting up all over again in order to get to work. So, and I know you had said that you were going to talk to them, so my conclusion is either they didn't understand what you said, or they ignored you because it's still happening. And I need to know what can be done, because my other thinking was that if it can't be done, maybe I'm better off putting 2 garbage cans behind my driveway so they can't fill up with snow again. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think we can talk to the superintendent and find out exactly how we can avoid that. Sometimes it might be unavoidable, the way the snow is. Some snow is very hard, like this past snow, and you can't avoid plowing without getting those boulders, but it is very frustrating when you clear out the night before so you can leave early, and then you have to redo it.
I get it, but also it depends, I think, on how fast they're coming up with the truck. because if they're going fast and they hit the snow or the ice, it's going to be like a tidal wave. You know, if they're coming up at a decent speed, even if they move it over, it's not going to block up the driveways where there's boulders all over the place, and you can't even walk by it until you knock it all down again. That's the concern I have, because it's happened twice so far, 2 in a row.
We will look into it, and we'll find out what the training is for the, because the plowers need training, correct, Mr. Mayor? They're supposed to be trained?
Yes, and could
So-
just be they need a simple reminder from year to year. So I'll reach out to them.
Whatever you can do,
Yep.
I appreciate
We
it.
will
Not a
do that.
problem.
so it
Thank you.
doesn't occur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Marietta Husband, 960 Adams Place. I'm going to reverse the way I was going to make my statement. One of my segments is the closing part of Colonial Boulevard on Halloween. And I'm going to take out a few things because right now I'm not in the mood to hear from anyone. I understand that there was a great deal of people were angry about the town directing everyone to an area.
Excuse me, Mary Ann, could you just speak into the microphone? Thank you.
I personally don't care. I personally don't care if people come to my area or not. What I heard was that there was traffic problems. People were parked. There were children who were upset because they couldn't go to certain parts of Colonial because of so many cars. This was a very costly ordeal for people who live on Colonial Boulevard. I did hear that if these people who had problems would call up certain people, they'd get extra candy. Halloween is for children, and it's for trick-or-treating in your neighborhood. It's not being told that where you have to go to trick-or-treat. I'll be very honest with you. I'm Mr. DeSena, who's not here right now, but I know he was there with his son because one of my neighbors did take their grandson there, and when he came back, he was doing it in our neighborhood where he lives, and he said there was a lot of chaos. It was a valiant try, but it backfired. My children grew up in this township, and my grandchildren were growing up in this township. We have never taken them outside of the neighborhood. I actually get annoyed when people come and park their cars in front of our houses so that their children can go trick-or-treating outside of their own neighborhoods. I have a lovely house across the street that is magnificent. They decorate it like you cannot believe, and lots and lots of people come to the neighborhood. And that's fine. So, I don't have a problem with what they're doing, but, I heard that the police were directing traffic. They should be out patrolling, not directing traffic for Halloween. Halloween is for children. Leave children in their own neighborhoods. I know next year they said, they're going to come up with other areas. Please don't do that. It's for children to go in their own neighborhoods. It's not to direct them to one area. I know last year they gave out hot dogs. And this year they did it again. And I don't know who pays for these hot dogs. And I don't know if it was political or it was political. But, I don't want to get involved in that. All I want to know is that children should be where children should be, in their own neighborhoods, walking around. It's wonderful to see the parents with their children because they teach the children to say thank you and trick or treat and happy Halloween, and it's a wonderful thing. And I love the children in my neighborhood, but it's kind of ridiculous what happened. Now the other thing I have to talk about is I received an invitation for a holiday party that caused me some thought. The holiday party was an invitation, by invitation only, and I did hear that was for the employees only, no spouses. Also, there doesn't seem to be any cost involved. First of all, I was always proud of the fact that when people comment about all the perks township employees got when they were able to retire, I told them that I did not receive any free medical or length of service money or anything else that occurred. And I also told them when they made comments about the wonderful Christmas parties that we went to, which we did. We had wonderful Christmas parties. 60, 65, 75, 80 people would attend. We paid for those Christmas parties ourselves. We paid for our husbands to come. We didn't get, we were employees, but, the town did not spend any money. I know Mr. Polly keeps telling me things change, but since when does the council now pay for Christmas parties for people? They're employees. They work here. They get paid. Yes, I'm a volunteer, but Will the volunteers back then pay to come to their Christmas parties also?
Marion, you got a minute.
Okay. The council controls the money. Did the council discuss paying for a Christmas party for people?
I don't recall if we discussed that.
We did discuss it. It was presented by Peter to reintroduce it. I fully support it. I work in a large company, and I've always said that the town should operate as a business. And one of the things businesses do, at least that I've been exposed to, is participate in a holiday party. So when Peter brought it up, I had no problems. It didn't cross my mind to say no, and I supported it then, and I support it now.
Okay, but this isn't a business. This is
I
a
understand that.
municipality, and this is the residents' money.
I understand
And
that.
I find, it's a little hard to accept. Also, it seems strange that it was on a Tuesday when the zoning board would be meeting. So, the zoning board members, if there's a meeting, and you wouldn't know that to the last minute. So I just think it's a difficult thing. One other thing, the ordinances. You have an ordinance for fees in front of you, and it's like 23 pages long. That ordinance is being introduced. Has anybody looked over all of those fees, whether they should be increased, whether they should be looked at? I know that the recreation, they've asked for all kinds of forms, to look at that.
Those fees are what the fees are now, and if we decide to change a fee, it's going to be a minor change, correct? And we can do that by another ordinance to amend that ordinance.
No,
but we have to, by law, we have to have all those fees in the code, Mary Ann.
Well, you do have them for the different sections. Now you're just taking them out.
We're just putting it all, it was advised to us by general code or 360 to put it together into one area so it's all localized, so you don't have to go from chapter 1 to chapter 16 to chapter 4.
No, I understand
and
that.
that's
But
really
now
why
isn't
we're
there
doing it.
some way you could have done this where you could have given it out to all the people who needed to look at them before you actually introduced it? Like the health
Look,
department.
they didn't change.
No, I understand that, but some of them need to change. So
Yes.
you should have done that.
Some.
Shouldn't you have done that before, like this time?
Maybe we should have done it before,
Well,
but
that's
we
what I'm
didn't. We just
asking.
wanted to get it on the books so we were within the regulations.
Yeah, but I don't think that was mandatory that it has to be done that way, does it?
Well, I have to talk to.
It has to be, it's mandatory now? They don't do it with regular single ordinances?
Well, I thought that the
part of the
code
codification.
alone would have done it, and frankly, I think it probably does if push came to shove, but their recommendation was that a separate ordinance should have that as an enactment. Like Steve was saying, there has been no change, it's just a
Well,
question.
all right, 'cause that's what I did. I looked.
They're just trying to get everything together, and frankly, it'll cost less next time around, because, if you're gonna change something, it's right there in that one section.
Well, yeah, but even the recreation, if you're doing a recreation
Yeah, I
one,
know.
it's just one section, it's
I know.
really not that much.
I know, but this is, it's an organizational thing, and it's just part of the codification.
And just one thing, you had a special meeting on November 17th?
Yes, we did.
Okay, well, the agenda said it was at 7 PM
Yeah, I
instead
made
of
a
9
typo, I
AM, which I'm not
apologize.
sure if
Yeah,
that...
it was 9 o'clock in the morning. That was
Yeah,
my
I know.
mistake.
Well, sometimes we cut and
The
paste.
agenda was, but not the legal notice.
Well, I know, but the agenda is what people look for online. You don't look for the legal notice as much because you wouldn't know about it, but you do
Sometimes
look
when we cut
online.
and paste, we make mistakes.
No,
We do it all the
I
time,
understand
so
the mistakes,
we
but,
apologize.
I understand the mistake.
We try and keep.
But,
as transparent
it's
as
just that
possible.
I'm not quite sure if that really, what people look for is this, so it's not necessarily just online.
We apologize to the people,
Oh,
it
it's
wasn't our
nothing,
intent.
Personally.
Mary Ann, can I have one more thing though, is that the legal notice was posted online also and on the bulletin board, the electronic board outside.
No, I know, but this is what people look for.
Duly noted.
Okay.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So 1 out of 3 maybe.
Anyone else?
Tony Plantamura, 808 Robinwood Road. So I just have questions about all the stuff that I heard tonight that to me is mind-boggling. First of all, I want an answer next time we have a meeting on what is this rented turf field that Mr. Ullman asked about, what the cost is and who asked for it, and I would like an answer.
Okay.
Where it went. The other thing is, I am totally against Christmas parties free for borough employees or volunteers, because I understand what you said, Mr. Ullman, but I have a business, and if I choose to take my employees out to dinner, I think that's fine, because it's coming out of my business expenses. But for a township to do it, I look at it as, I grease your palm, you grease my palm sometimes. And that's the way I feel about it, and I'm just really tired of hearing this stuff, okay? I thought we were gonna change our form of government. I wanna let you know up there, all of you who's promised to do this, we still do not have any change in form of government, and I don't see any activity, and I'll tell you right now, I'm not doing it, like I did the turf field. I want people to help, and then I will do it. But I also feel that this is a responsibility of this current administration to follow through on their promises with changing the form of government. I'm going to hold your foot to the fire on this. I'm going to bring it up every time because I want to change a form of government. I do not think that it's right, Mr. Calamari, that the township taxpayers, if they didn't know it, and I didn't even know this until recently, are paying for borough employees' Christmas parties. I think it's wrong. It rubs me the wrong way, and everybody should be paying for their own plate. As far as Colonial goes, I cannot believe what I just heard, that Colonial was basically blocked off for children, which I have nothing against, but this is my concern, that moms in this town have that much clout that you would basically block off a major roadway to inconvenience everybody else, to me is absurd. Those moms need to go get a job or something, okay? Did you hear me, moms? You're probably the same ones that talked about me on your Facebook and social media when I was going for the artificial turf field. I really don't care what they think about me, okay? It's just really incredible that people have that amount of time to sit home and demand something like this, and you do it. It rubs me the wrong way. I would like you to give me $50,000. I could use that for the loss of some of my income that I got for being part of the major development on the roadway that happened in Emerson 2 years ago that I lost. And also the intersections at Van Amberg Avenue. It is horrendous there, just like our intersection down here is horrendous, and I don't also see police officers out there writing tickets. So this is my question I would like. The next time we meet, can you please have an answer for us? How many tickets are written at Van Amberg? How many tickets are written at the fire station when they cross over that double yellow line all the time? And I travel that way, and I almost get hit all the time. And also, how many people run the red lights at all those two major intersections? Because all the time now, cars are running that red light. So maybe, and one other thing, the promotions that came up, I think there were like 6 or 7 promotions in this department. Who's responsible for the promotions? Is it you that promotes? Just you? And no input from the council?
I think it's on the recommendation of the chief, and then it would be the mayor's...
The chief and the director.
Chief and the director, and then it would be the mayor doing the promoting at their advisement. The council's not involved in that.
Okay. I'm glad that everybody's getting promoted and making more money.
Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, I'll make a motion to close the public session.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. We're going to go to introduction, first reading of ordinances. Would you like to read that for me? Or I could do it. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'm going to introduce some ordinances at first reading. Ordinance number 18-16, an ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Bergen, and the State of New Jersey, revising, amending, and/or supplementing the code of the Township of Washington by adding a new chapter, 121 fees.
No, 212.
Oh, 212, I'm sorry. Dyslexia is setting in.
Okay, yeah,
I apologize. 212. 222. I apologize. Okay. Need a motion to introduce and pass ordinance 18-16 at first reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman
So,
Bruno?
before we do that, since it's been motioned. So can you, because, I mean, maybe I missed it, but is this the first time we're seeing this?
This is the first time that we're...
Okay, so before we motion to pass it, although you did explain it, can you just clarify, this is being requested by E-Code?
General code.
General code.
And they want all of the fees to be aggregated under one heading?
Well, that was part of the codification. That's exactly what was done. That's done in a lot of the towns, and that's what they recommended that be done. Is just because the fees are everywhere in the code, and this puts the fees all together, and those sections just refer back to this section, so it's very organized. And if anybody wants to look up fees in town, they just go to the chapter on fees, and that's it. They don't have to pull fees from all the different things. But this is requested by General Code as part of the codification process. And it has nothing to do with changing anything or not changing anything. It's just restating what the fees are and putting it to this new chapter. That's all it does.
It's really organizational more than anything else, and
It's organizational, period, is what it is. It's not, that's what it is. It's just reorganizing it into a chapter.
But we're still putting the fee amounts in here, which I've been asking probably a year and a half in terms of whether these fees are reasonable or not. So I'm all for organization, but I'm not all for putting amounts in there again that we just keep copying over and over and over again for years. But anyway, that's just my comment, so you can take a roll call, Sue.
take a roll.
Sure. Councilman Bruno?
No.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes. However, at the next reading, if we do not have a plan to address some of the concerns that Mr. Bruno has raised, because this has been discussed multiple times. When our new rec director came on, he had 2 roles, and his second role, I believe, was quite busy at the time. We're still waiting for an analysis of the rec fees, the expenses, and the revenue that supports it. I really think that there has to be some traction on that, because it's been asked and not answered quite a few times.
I'll just address that quickly, Michael. We're meeting with him tomorrow to review the 2018 budget, year-to-date so far, and he's very close. He expects to have that report to the council for the next meeting, the one you're referring to.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. So, let's see, on a resolution to pass. So, resolution, I need a motion on resolution 18334, authorizing publication of ordinance number 18-16 and scheduled public hearing. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
No.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to ordinance number 18-17, an ordinance revising the regulation of open burning in the Township of Washington. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance 18-17 at first reading by title. May I have a motion, please?
We just did.
That.
No, we're just...
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Any discussion?
Yes. So, what does section 120-5 speak to? I don't believe it was included.
I think that was the section that said you couldn't burn plant, you couldn't burn plant material, trees were defined in that. And if you remember, I don't know if you were here or not, but we had a big discussion about whether you should have chimeneas and whether you should have that stuff.
That was burning almost anything.
Yeah, and it was, well, no, rubbish and things like that, there were plenty of things that were okay, but the question was, could you have this open burning? And so that, this will allow the open burning. Before, we had a prohibition before. We went through all the other towns, we had a lot of discussion about it. We had a discussion of who had chimeneas, who didn't have them, who wanted burning, who didn't want the burning. This is the end result.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Burnham, was you coming?
No, sir.
No? Okay. I have a motion on resolution 18-335, authorizing publication of ordinance number 18-17 and scheduled public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Kenny?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to ordinance number 18-18. An ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of the Township of Washington, setting forth the rate of clothing allowance of officers and firefighters of the fire department in said municipality for the year 2018. So I'm looking for a motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 18-18 in first reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is this, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead.
I just want to know, is this is what we had budgeted?
This is the budgeted amount.
No change from last year.
Remains.
Is there a reason why we do it in November?
So that was my question.
Not that I'm aware of. Maybe Mr. Tovo would know that, or...
It's typically done at the end of the year as more of a reimbursement. That's how most towns set it up.
Okay. And just one question, the eligibility speaks to the person having had more than 50% attendance at public fire duty and drill. Are they using the LoSAP calculation for that, or what is the method to calculate that, and who monitors that and who agrees to it?
They probably are using the same calculation, and the line officers are responsible for those counts.
Okay.
So should we actually be doing this for 19 also, with 19 numbers, so when we do the budget, we have an ordinance in place?
You want to do next year's ahead of time?
Well, we're going to budget for it in March, April.
Well, I'm
Why
sure
wait
the
to do an
administrator-
ordinance in 19, at the end of the year? I mean, I think, yeah, I wanted to do it before we budget.
We're gonna do it early on.
Yeah, I would think that we
So we do it
would, and
before, while we budget?
we'll have those numbers.
Well, as always, there are budget discussions prior to the budget being put in place, so we knew prior to November, the amount wasn't going up. So we had the same conversation, this year during budget time. If there's an increase, it'll be reflected in the budget.
Is that okay, Bob? Or you want-
Yeah, no, no, to Mike's point, even if there is an increase, we should then follow up with an ordinance subsequent to the budget rather than November, because I would have no clue whether we budgeted these or not, so, I
So
guess.
you want to have an ordinance prior to the
Well, I think
introduction of
if we're approving numbers here that we said we budgeted, I'm not against not approving the numbers. I have no clue whether this is what we budgeted. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, let me research and see what the numbers are.
Okay.
I'll get back to you. I'm sure they're the same, but if there's a discrepancy, I'll let you know. Okay? So where are we? So did you do a roll on that? So,
No, it did not.
Okay, I think there was Mr. Ullman motioned that, and I think I or Art seconded that.
I believe so.
Councilman Cummings seconding it. Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
And now I need a motion for a resolution of 18-336, authorizing publication of ordinance number 18-18 and schedule public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance number 18-19, an ordinance revising the penalties to be assessed for violations of Chapter 330 of the Code of the Township of Washington, parking regulations. Need a motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 18.
Before we do that?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So,
We should have a motion.
We should
and a
motion
second
first, and then we'll
before
discuss
you
it.
do it.
Okay.
Please. So I need a
So,
motion.
a motion, let me just read it again. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 18-19 at first reading by title.
So moved.
Second. Good, Mike.
so what, we just talked about revamping sorry, my apologies. Chapter 212. Is that strictly related to fees? So it doesn't include penalties?
Well, yeah, this has to do with the parking.
Okay, so these are punitive. Okay.
Yes.
And who's making the recommendation for these?
Our code enforcement officer.
This goes back to the discussion last week?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have been in favor of these 100% on the basis of long experience with such situations.
Well, Mr. Cummings, this is what typically happens in other municipalities that you're familiar with, correct?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Bob, any questions?
No, I'm just trying to see if there's no, I think it's fine, because I think the town looks like a mess half the time. But is there so what happens if they don't pay? Is that here somewhere?
Well, Mr.
Ken?
Pollard would let us know what,
Well,
first next they go to court, right?
First of all, they can get hit with a $2,000 fine for the fourth time around. They're going to be paying a lot of money if they don't move. That was the point of putting this on there.
And if they don't pay, the judge swears out a warrant, which is on their license, and they get pulled over.
So that's what happens?
And then they have to go to the police station in Wayne or Florida and explain what the problem was in Washington Township.
Okay.
Any further discussion, John?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. So I need a motion on resolution number 18-337, authorizing publication.
No, I need to,
Oh,
we have to do roll call.
Oh, didn't we do that?
No, we didn't do
Okay,
roll
I'm
call.
sorry.
Sorry.
My fault.
Okay. Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Now, I need a motion on resolution number 18-337, authorizing publication of ordinance number 18-19 and schedule public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Consent agenda. The fun part that says consent agenda. I'm supposed to memorize it. Okay, the next is the consent agenda. Again, gentlemen, if there's anything on the consent agenda that you'd like to remove for discussion, just let me know, but let me read through that, and we'll go from there. All right, resolution 18-338, authorize refund of escrow balance of $502,000, lock.
$502.
Oh, boy. But we gave the half the town away.
They like you, Steve.
Dyslexia, I'm sorry. Okay, $502. Lot 4210, lot 529 Hickory Street. Resolution 18-339, authorization of refund of taxes paid in the amount of $12,353.51 and premium in the amount of $31,100 for redemption made prior to tax sale for block 3205, 2305.01, right? Lot 2, AKA 544 Jackson Ave. Resolution 18340, authorize renewal of shared service for vehicle maintenance with Paramus. Resolution 18-341, authorize renewal of shared service for vehicle maintenance and repair services on an as-needed basis with the County of Bergen. And that's what we have. Does anything need to be pulled, gentlemen, for separate consideration or discussion?
I'd like to just ask a few questions about 340, but it doesn't have to be
340?
pulled.
Oh, let me have a motion first
Okay.
on that, and then we can discuss it. I'm sorry.
Motion on the consent agenda.
Consent, yeah. I'll second it.
This is to motion all of these?
No, just to discuss it.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry. Councilman Owen, you were saying about polling one, or you want a discussion on one?
340 and 341.
Okay.
So 340, is there a reason why this was addressed to the chief? And is this just for PD vehicles, or is this for all vehicles?
I would think it's for all vehicles, Mr. Toto, is that correct?
It is for all vehicles. It was the chief that actually requested the information from Paramus when we realized that our agreement had expired.
Okay.
It was due for renewal last year.
And are we currently utilizing the Borough Paramus?
Not recently. Our relationship with them expired last year. We did not renew for reasons unknown to me.
Okay.
Maybe it was an administrative lapse, or I don't know where the role fell. We didn't have a problem with them, right, Mr. Mayor, as far as you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think it just wasn't approved from the former mayor, period.
And did, so the chief was aware it expired. Would he prefer to send the cars there, or is this just having an option available?
These are really for 40 and 41. They're options for all department heads.
Okay.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
The 339, what exactly are we paying back taxes on?
12 and the 31.
What?
The 12 and the 31.
No, I know, but why
This was
do
part of
we
the
have
tax
so
sale. This was part of the tax sale. When Joy did the tax sale just recently, election day,
Yeah,
it was a tax sale. And this was paid back before the tax sale, made prior to. So the lien holder gets paid back the money.
so we're paying the lien holder back? Who's that, a bank?
Mr. Rockman, I believe it is.
It's in your packet.
It's in the, I believe it's Mr. Rockman.
Okay.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No,
Nope.
We can vote on it all together.
No problem.
Okay. So I'll ask a motion.
You have the, you have
Oh,
a,
well.
Councilman Bruno?
yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll adjourn to the conference session at this time.
Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Now, let's take 5 minutes and then we'll come back and move it on with the rest. Okay? We're back to the conference session. So we have the project tracker that we had in continuation. Are there any questions on what was in your packet regarding the
Yeah,
capital,
amended one on the dais.
capital projects? Let's start with the capital projects first. Mike, anything going on there for you? Any questions?
Just really two things. The road program,
Right.
I noticed that, or I noted that the DMF yard was not paved, There was some extra monies after the bid went out, and that was added. And I'm wondering, are we going to do it this year? I'm assuming not, due to the weather. And is that something that can be encumbered and done next year? I don't know.
You talk about paving the DMF lot over here?
Yes. The second thing is the intersection, no change in status. So my understanding, provided everything to the county. We've been waiting for the county for quite some time to give us, I guess, CAD drawings. I think that was the next step.
Correct.
You know, what is happening with that? Because the timeline just seems to be slipping by.
Have you talked to them, Peter?
I communicate with the engineer down there every other week. It's on my calendar.
Okay.
And basically I get the same answer every time, is we're working on it and we'll get to it when we get to it, but then I won't give any firm time frame.
Can you reach out to them before the holiday and see if we can get this?
Yeah, we're also going to bump it up and include the county executive on the next email also. And,
all right.
Yeah.
Because this is something that
Yes,
obviously
it's
we're
all
waiting
near and dear
for,
to our
and,
hearts, yeah.
Take down some coffee
it's important that we get it done.
Yes.
And I'm assuming, going back to the road program, our engineer is doing everything he needs to be doing on a timely basis.
Yes.
So you're in contact with him as well, so nothing falls, through the cracks. I mean, it's important that our engineer makes this stuff a priority. It has to be.
You mean on the intersection?
On the intersection and the other things, the curb
on the
cuts
intersection,
and the
he told me as
road
soon as he
program.
gets stuff, he's ready
Okay.
to jump on it from the county. And
Okay.
the other things, as Bob put in the report, he's repairing
Okay.
the report. I think one or two things did go a little above cost, which did not leave enough room to do the DMF parking lot. But he'll
Okay.
have that in his report.
Well, just to Michael's point, paving the DMF parking lot, when you talk about the parking lot, you're not talking about the part, or do we know the actual part that might have to be
The yard-
excavated? Or, I don't know how far that line goes out.
Well,
Do you
so
want to do that before?
I am not for wasting money, but it is a risk, in my opinion, having been there and using the yard on a regular basis. It's uneven.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't drain. There are potholes. It had been discussed. The DMF during the budget said they didn't want it. It was brought to our attention that there was extra money in the paving program. It was identified as something to be done, and it wasn't done. And, I guess I'm just trying to figure out if other items ran over budget, I'd like to hear them. If they didn't run over budget and it just wasn't done, I'd also like to understand
Why it
that.
wasn't. Okay.
We had a meeting on a Saturday. We sat down, made these decisions, and these decisions aren't executed on.
Okay.
So if they're not going to be executed on,
Well, if we have the money and it needs to be done, why isn't it getting done? And I think that's the major question. So let's kind of look and find out if we have money, and two, if we have the money, when can we expect it to be performed? Okay.
the question on the renovation to the firehouse, so there was I guess a phase 2 that was put before us. I think it was about, I guess it was 396. There was a question of, was the ordinance that it was being pulled from, was that, did that ordinance speak to the renovation? I believe Bob asked that question, and I didn't see a response. And my question is, has the architect been given approval to move forward on Phase 2? And
Okay, I don't know that answer. What did we talk about with the architect, Peter?
Well, the architect gave us the price. Nothing's been approved on it yet, obviously, without council approval. We ran the ordinance past a couple of different people who said, the way it's written is a bit of a gray area, but they suggest that we amend the ordinance to include new construction. Right now, it was just in there as rehabilitation. So
Was that the recommendation of Lou and?
It was the recommendation of Lou, the CFO, Yeah, oh yeah, and Bob Byfield, bond counsel, the three of them.
The ordinance doesn't speak to what we're putting this money against. The ordinance that we have in place speaks to adding another bay and an exhaust system, which has nothing to do with knocking down demolition of a building and adding an ambulance corps. So it needs to be rewritten for us to take any action on, because you can't just do it, you can't do it.
Yeah, that's what they said. that-
No, I understand, I'm just reiterating.
Okay, so we can probably have that
For the
written
next-
for next meeting?
Correct.
Okay, and I'm sure, Ken, you'll review the ordinance, is that what you do, or the bonding?
No, the bonding attorney.
Bond counsel.
Okay, all right, well, we'll get that rewritten for the next meeting then.
Yep.
Okay? Mr. Cumming, anything on capital projects?
No, I was pleased to see that many of the projects at the end, such as the doors for the police department, that seemed to be hanging on, and then the front doors for the town hall and so on, were completed, and the painting and the flooring, because it certainly is much safer for the employees. So congrats to the mayor, whoever got this moving.
All right, and the only question I have, it says here about the senior van that we have it, we purchased it's delivered, the bus, whatever you want to call it. When is that going to be put in service, Peter?
We have to just, well, Bob, I think you probably can answer that better than I can.
We are waiting for the registration. We don't want to operate on temporary tags. That's not recommended by the state.
Okay.
And secondly, we're looking at marking it up slightly different than it was previously, maybe something a little more up to date.
Okay, all right. We got like a rainbow on it, what are we doing? Like
Open
Partridge Family
suggestions.
bus, what are we doing?
We're open to ideas.
Yeah,
Okay.
but solicit the seniors' opinion.
Okay.
So
That-
it's
that would
their
be-
rig.
That would be a good idea,
Yeah.
see what they'd like. I
Right.
think that would be important, but it
Yep.
looks like a great thing. Okay, anything else on the progress tracker? We're good?
I have some questions. So,
I'm sorry.
it's all right. So I would like to, Bob, if you can add Quest onto this, so we keep track of that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Quest. Quest is the soil remediation. And also, there were several, when we have a meeting with our finance people, I don't want to lose track of that also. It's the reserves and the ordinances and the financial review of the excess funds that are in our balance sheet, please. My other question is, on the road paving, what was the amount that we bonded?
Excuse me, offhand, I don't know the exact amount that was in the ordinance for bonding. I think this 1 million number that you're seeing here includes the DOT money, so that's what makes it look bigger than you may remember it.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that we spent 509. I thought we did about 800,000 or 750.
I think that's what we did,
Yeah.
about 7.
And we had money from the prior year, so now we have money from this year. And the $1,043,000, I think that's Woodfield Road, is that what you're talking? Yeah, so that was
Yes.
144,000. So it means it would be like 900 or 800, whatever that comes out to, plus, so we're gonna be 300 better there, and I think we went in with 200 better, so now we probably have about 300 bonded floating around somewhere for roads, I think. Can we find out exactly what we have?
You want an accurate description of what's spent and what we have?
Yeah, I mean, we bonded the money.
And that's our intention. I just got some of the information back from the engineer late today, so I want to make sure all the numbers line up. What we invested, what came through in grants, what's been spent, what's left to be done. So it's fairly comprehensive, so I don't want to give you part of the story. I want to wait till I have it all and give you the entire picture.
Okay, so you'll email that to us, Mr. Tovo, when you
I will.
have it? Okay. You okay
You'll
with
have
that?
to, you'll have to go back to next year also, last year, I mean, because there was money left over somewhere that we think rolled into this year, plus we bonded money this year.
Did we roll or did we leave it in the
Well,
ordinance? it was
when
in?
I mean we rolled, it means we didn't spend it, so we assumed we were gonna then use it for this year's program. I think, you'll have to check, I don't know, Bob.
I will.
I forget.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
No, my only other comment is the renovations for the DMF building for $2 million, we should probably just take it off the sheet. It's a meaningless number. Nothing's gonna happen, we're not doing anything, it's not even worth looking at anymore, on page 2.
You want to just remove it?
That's my feeling. I mean, nothing's happening with it, so.
Mr. Ullman?
Well, I think although we may not have progress, we're going to have to put a plan in place because that remediation has to take place by the end of 2021.
Yeah, 21.
So we have, basically 2 years to get that building demolished, the soil remediated, and a new DMF up. So,
You want to leave it?
well,
As a placeholder?
I think we should maybe strike the number and leave the
Line?
leave the line. And what's the plan? I mean, Peter had put forward an option of moving part of the yard down to Washington Avenue, Pascack Avenue, and that doesn't appear that's going to materialize based on the discussions we've had. So I think we have to come up with Plan B. And in my mind, Plan B is doing something out there with the volunteer ambulance, pivoting the building. So those were some of the options. I mean, I don't think the options that were provided in the past study are viable, of building a garage that will house every last vehicle.
Right.
No, that's off the table, basically.
So, well, let's just leave it as a placeholder. The number obviously is unknown at this point. Maybe we can come up with a number when we get more proposals. We're going to have to go out and get them anyway. So that's, let's just leave it as an unknown cost, but leave the project on there, obviously. Mr. Cumming, anything?
I liked what you said.
Well, thank you. It was rare, but I'll take it.
Oh, well, once in a while.
I'll take it. Okay, let's move on to ordinances and legislation. We had Ken look at some ordinances for abandoned properties. He gave us a couple of examples. Ken, if you want to go over those?
Yeah, well, more than that, if you remember last time, I had drafted up an ordinance implementing the abandoned properties aspect of things. When we last looked at it, we asked Art to take a look at it with his experience. He did get in touch with me, we went over, we talked. I made a couple of small changes that I thought were appropriate. I sent it to Art. He says, looks great, and so basically it's ready to be introduced next meeting.
Okay. Mike, Bob, did you take a look at it, and what did you think?
I did not.
I hate to say it. I know we had a number of events going on in town and everything, but I didn't get through the entire docket of papers since Saturday afternoon, so my apologies.
Okay, so
I will look at it.
May I?
Sure.
That,
Yes, Mr. Cumming.
I spent more than half an hour on the phone with Attorney Poehler, and we had a very good discussion. I had some concerns about the tax sale mentions at the first, and he enlightened me on ordinance numbers that applied to that. We straightened out a few other minor points that I thought operationally would help our property maintenance person. This is one area where I'm trying to give of my experience freely and as much as I can. And I think what Ken Poehler turned out is a very good piece of work that we can work with.
In your opinion, does this ordinance mesh with our other policies regarding property maintenance?
Yes, sir, it does.
It does, okay. And we have some teeth with this?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on that, John?
No.
No? Okay, so we'll look at that for next meeting. Background checks. Sue had some things about background checks you want to pursue?
Along with speaking to Mr. Tovo, I don't know if Mr. Tovo would like to take this and run with it?
I'd be happy to. Shortly after arriving, our rec director informed me that we do not have an ordinance in place to ensure background checks for coaches either directly employed by our rec department or what I call the quasi groups, which are ones sponsored or recognized by Recreation. To me, there's obviously a great liability that we just can't carry. Many towns I've looked at have either enacted this through regulations within the Recreation Commission or by ordinance. In my experience, the best way to ensure the safety and the proper process is to have both. You want to have an ordinance backed up by some type of internal policy to make sure it's carried out in the manner in which it should. The ordinances provided, I think, are very much self-explanatory. I prefer the Florence Township. I think it's thorough and accomplishes what we need. And the last thing, I think it's important that we create the verbiage in the policy that the programs themselves will bear the cost of the background check, because volunteers are already giving their time. It shouldn't come out of their pocket as well.
Okay. Mr. Ullman?
No, just to clarify, the Florence Township is one that you've read and you seem to align with?
Myself and Mr. Sedekis both agree that's the better of the three versions we have.
Okay.
Mr. Tillman?
No, I'm good with it. I'm very good with it and in favor of it.
Bob?
Yep, no, we've been talking about it for a while, so.
Yeah, we had this back on, when I was first on the council, we talked about it with the Recreation Board, and again, that's an advisory board, so there's really not a lot of teeth, so really to get the teeth into it, it really has to come from the council, and basically mandate that by law, it has to be done, and then we can do it. And for some reason, there was a little pushback at that time, we're talking 6-7 years ago. Why the pushback was, I don't know. You would figure everyone would want to protect their children as best as possible, but I'm glad this is coming up at this point.
I think at that time the pushback was on procedure. Who was going to do the check and how would it be paid for?
Right.
That's been vetted out successfully over the years, so I think we're beyond all that.
Okay, well, that's great. Fantastic. So we can move along with that one. And then in regards to that, we talked about the next one, which is Community Pass, where basically the way we fund these different things that the borough, or the borough, the township utilizes, recreation and other things, we don't want to have a lot of cash on hand, so I think that's why we're going to go towards the Community Pass. Is that your understanding, Mr. Tovo?
That is mine, and it's what's going on in the majority of municipalities out there, going cashless first, and secondly, offering more ways to pay, online, credit card, etc. I'm not sure if credit card's included here, but I believe it is. Sue, is it?
I don't think so. One of the purposes behind this is if you have a parent come in with cash, it is expected of the employee to enter their information on the Community Pass. We have to go through the Community Pass process, and that puts it on the employee to put in the doctor's names, numbers, the allergies, and all that stuff, which I don't think is a good liability for any employee to do. A parent to do it is one thing, but to say, well, I didn't say that, that's not what I meant, or that's the one, whatever.
Put the onus on the parent,
Yeah.
not the
So make sure
intake.
no cash and all Community Pass.
Yeah, I mean, there are, if it's a matter of access to a computer, the library has free computers.
Some people just don't want to do it.
So I don't think we should be doing
But
that.
I spoke to Mr. Paula today about this, and neither one of us had a chance to go back in. I asked Mr. Sedekis to look in the recreation ordinances to see if it does address this in particular, if it's an amendment to an ordinance, or what we will have to do to put this in place. It could be policy, resolution, I don't know. Mr. Paula, I will link you for the next meeting.
Okay, any questions? We're good? Okay, number 4, use of facilities. Art and I were going to work on how we have members use the facilities and what the criteria is, and Art and I haven't gotten together on that and discussed it, so we'll just pass over that. Financials, the strategic planning, that's basically what we talked about, the capital and where are we going with the township. Any remarks on that, Mike or Bob or Art? We talked about the strategy, where we're moving to.
No, I mean, we approved the CFO. We consented to Peter's appointment. I'm looking forward to working with her. I think we all are. And, getting this ship righted.
Okay.
Get a strategic plan.
Well, it's getting the right people in place to do the right thing for the residents. And I think we have new members in place, new employees that are going to help us go in a positive direction. Moving on to miscellaneous, the shared service. Again, I've been bad. I haven't got caught up with Art yet, or he and I, but we're going to work on working with other local municipalities to start that shared service with Peter's blessing. He's going to let us do that. And hopefully we get some traction with surrounding communities, sharing tools that one town may have, the other may not, but need, so hopefully that goes forward. That being said, we'll move on to zoning board members. Looks like we have 2 coming due at the end of the year, so we have to decide as a council, do we want to post them, or do we want to renew who we have? I just want to get a feeling from the council where we are. I think both of these gentlemen are doing a fine job, so I don't know what your pleasure is. Mr. Ullman?
Have we asked them, are they interested in staying?
I don't know, I have to ask.
Not yet, but I want your direction tonight if you have anything strongly, so.
I think it would be a good idea to see if they wanted to continue.
We did that last year.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Right.
Mr. Cumming, you're in agreement?
Yes, I know Mr. Toro, I was on zoning with him, he's a very
Okay.
good member. If we can keep him and Mr. Lagrada, that would be excellent.
Okay.
No, I will confirm with them for the next meeting.
Yeah, would you
then.
do that, please? Reach out to them as soon as possible and see if we need to, if they would like to continue or be replaced. Going on for RFQs for zoning board attorneys, Sue, you had that on? What's
I
up?
received a phone call from Mr. Getz asking if I would put out an RFQ for the zoning board attorney as I did last year for him. I called him this morning, we spoke, and he was fine with what I'd done last year, but this year I'd like to post it on the website so that people can just go onto the website, get the criteria, and then they can submit it by, I think it's December I have a date, but I want to confirm it with him. As long as we're good, then I can put it in.
What happened to him?
No, nothing, just every year they need to reappoint, so he's just putting out there to see if there's anybody else out there and, playing the field a little bit.
The zoning board reappoints or the council?
The zoning board gets
The zoning
Board.
does that. Okay. All right,
Yes,
so
board.
we'll get that out there on the website and then through,
And
where
I'll
else,
advertise it,
where else do you post, where else do you advertise that, sir?
goes into the record.
Goes into the record? Okay. All right, so, not the municipal,
No,
No,
League
no.
of Municipalities,
League, no.
unless you really want to, because that will cost you more money.
no, let's keep it inexpensive, that would be great. And then, so you want to talk about the Bergen County Satellite Office?
Yeah, the
That
only
was here.
thing I wanted to just mention is that, and we missed it the last meeting, that it was a very successful the 3 days they were here. The county was very pleased to be here. They were set up in the upstairs third floor conference room, pleased with what they did. Pleased to report that we did 28 passports, we did 40 golden key cards, we did 12 veteran service photos, and we had 3 people that came in to do notary oaths. And I've already set up the date for next year, it's in October, and they will be posted on the calendar. So, and I had some other people saying this was great, can we have it back? So we're already set for next year.
What is the golden key cards?
Yeah, what's a
I'm
golden
not
key
familiar
card?
with that.
Am I
It's kinda
golden
like-
enough?
Yeah, you take it to the stores, you get little discounts when you go to the stores, you show it. Like a AAA card, but it's a golden key card.
Oh, okay.
So,
Nice. Okay, with that being said, we're done with the current business, so I need a motion to close and then go into closed.
Motion.
do you?
Second.
Wait, we're going to close the session out, right?
Yeah, all your motion is closed into
You want to
session.
keep the rest of these or take a couple?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to be going into closed section. Thank you for coming, everyone. Resolution for lease negotiations, and we do not anticipate reopening, going back into open session. Okay? Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.